Okay, I think we're going to have to get underway here. I see we have a lot of attendees jumping on the call now, and that's good. I need to let everyone know this call is being recorded. My weekly calls are recorded, so if you're not cool with being recorded, just act accordingly, but you're not going to have to speak during this. I have you all muted, but you will be able to unmute yourself in this mode, just to give you a little, housekeeping advice here. You'll be able to unmute yourself, but let's keep yourselves muted in the meantime so we don't have any background noise distractions. There is a chat window. I don't know if you've seen my message to you already. I'm going to type hello in the chat window so that you can see there, and that's where you can chat with me. And if you want to put any questions or things like that, or if the audio is scratchy or something and you need to alert me, that's where I'll be able to see what you're talking about there. Okay, but we're going to get underway and to a high wind here. I'm pretty pumped Sunday morning, and I'm especially pumped this Sunday morning because this is the first installment of the Sunday Morning Hustle. It's something I've wanted to do for a very long time, and Sunday mornings are a special time for me. I'm usually up, people say at the crack of dawn. I'm up before dawn on Sundays, usually just hustling. And by the time people are up and around and running 9, 10 o'clock, I've already gotten a ton of stuff done in total peacefulness and silence and all that. And this is when I really plan to crush it for the week. And I really want to instill that in practice and other, wellness-related business owners to be able to do that, because I know how it can be out in the trenches during the week. And, Sundays are sacred, but I want to make Sunday sort of bring it to a new level now. So that's what the Sunday Morning Hustle is about. We're going to meet here every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, and we're just going to do this. We're going to push it as far as we can. This is eventually going to be a subscription service. We have that set up, and I'll tell you all about that during today's call, but I want to jump right into the content because I have really exciting stuff to go over with you today. So, this week's topic, okay, we're going to have a topic for every coaching call, and when I say this week's topic, it's going to set the tone and the tempo for the week. And I've been doing this lately. I've had these themes that I've come up with, either the theme of the day or the theme of the week, and I've had some really great ones, which I'll probably repeat just for the Sunday Morning Hustle for those of you who are going to be attending. But this week's has been particularly special to me because this one is a big one for me, and I know it's going to be a big one for you. And so today's topic is called Moving the Story Forward. Okay, and here's my little sub-headline here: Why are you always dragging your feet and coping? And this is something that I want to take up, okay? Now, in our regular coaching calls with our clients, we're always taking on, like issues with marketing and issues with trying to confront people and get them to do what you want them to do and so on and so forth. And yeah, that's the kind of in the trenches everyday stuff that we do. And you do need techniques and technology on that. But seldom do we really talk about the bigger picture. So I want you to step back from your practice today, and I want you to take a look at what we mean by moving the story forward. Okay, so that's just going to set the tempo for today's call. I want to introduce to you my new company. I just started this literally 2 weeks ago, and we pretty much threw it together. This is a concept I've had in the back of my mind for a very long time, but my new company is called Broadcast Wellness. Not to worry, all the other companies and coaching and everything that you've come to know and love and use to your advantage is now sort of consolidated or umbrellaed under Broadcast Wellness. And our slogan is, your future patients are listening. And if you think about it, screenings, marketing, everything you do is broadcasting wellness into your community. And that's what I'm looking to instill in you. So visit broadcastwellness.com. It's under construction. There's more and more about services getting on there. But on the homepage, you'll see a video. You'll be able to join the mailing list if you haven't been on it. And don't be afraid of mailing lists. I have a lot of really cool and interesting stuff that I'll be sending you. Broadcastwellness.com. Watch the 5-minute video on there where I tell you the entire story of Broadcast Wellness, how it came about, and why I'm really excited about it. So now, what do we do at Broadcast Wellness? Let's just do a quick review. This is the premiere episode, and it's free, guys, so I'm going to get a little commercial time here so that you can get an idea for what I do, especially those of you who are in attendance who don't know what I do. And also, I want to welcome our affiliate partners. We have a few affiliate partners that are attending today as well, and I invited them to attend because they're out there talking to you guys, you wellness professionals, and I want them to know about this because I want them to turn their people on to the Sunday Morning Hustle and to the other things that we do with Broadcast Wellness. So in-house, what we're doing right now, the most exciting thing that I'm doing is podcast production, and I'll get to that a little bit later, but suffice to say, those of you who have listened to my podcast, you know that I'm a podcaster. You know I've been in broadcasting and different things to various degrees. I've done commercial writing and voiceovers. And so the podcast production is for wellness, usually wellness-related professionals, but we have other professionals as well that we do it for. And I'm producing a podcast for chiropractors, wellness professionals, pretty much anybody. So we're doing podcast production so that you can broadcast your message and your expertise and position yourself as an expert in your community. I ghostwrite books and blogs. We have done full-length books, and I've done blog writing. We've done, like newsletter production and that type of thing. And through some of our partnerships, we're able to bring some really great products to get those out. Of course, screenings and talks. Most of you know me as an expert screener and lecturer, and always on fire. I'm an advocate of chiropractic, wellness care, all those things, and I go out and I speak very passionately about those things on behalf of our docs and wellness providers, as well as coaching them on how to do it, too. Excuse me. And then, we train staffs on how to do follow-up calls and, all kinds of things. And, of course, the coaching. We do all that in-house. Now, under partnerships, I have a few partnerships. Actually, I have a bunch of partnerships. We're looking to be a one-stop shop. So we want premium services that help our clients expand, and I hand select every service. I'm a partner with Constant Contact. For those of you who don't know what it is a way of just communicating with your audience, sending newsletters and informative mailings and having auto response mailings set up and all kinds of cool things that I'd love to tell you about. So I'm an affiliate partner with them. We have a great product. It's only for medical-related providers like chiropractors and whatever. Like, you can't be a fitness facility or anything and use Solution Reach. But if you want to talk to me about that, we've been getting some great results with our clients who are able to use and are compatible with the Solution Reach product. ChiroPatient Tidal Wave is something new. It's kind of a working title right now. It's brand new, but I just hired someone on board who is rocking it out of the park, particularly with chiropractic Facebook ads. So if you're interested in that, at the end of the call, you'll know how to get in with me as well. DC Marketing Blueprint. Listen to episode 39 of my podcast. Dr. Jerry Dreesen, a chiropractor out near Seattle, Washington, has some amazing innovative products, and he really crushed it in that episode. I believe it's called When You're on Fire, People Will Come to Watch You Burn, and that's a direct quote from Jerry. Simple Growth is a company that provides massage days, and these two guys are wild men. They're chiropractors. They manage several clinics, and they have done this in their own clinic and have boomed their practices with that. So these are just a few examples. There's too many here to list, literally, and I literally have 100 more that I'm considering right now. And when I say literally, I mean quite literally. I have 100 sitting in the hopper just waiting to evaluate their services. So that's a little bit about Broadcast Wellness, a little bit about the commercial. Really quick, a little bit about me for those of you who are new to me. I've been broadcasting wellness since 1995. I've been out there advocating chiropractic. I'm a chiropractic miracle success story. Listen to episode 1 of my podcast. It's just a half an hour of me talking about what I do and why I do it and how I got started and how the miracle of chiropractic actually saved me not only from the medical model, but quite literally, I believe, from death. So I'm a chiropractic and wellness advocate ever since then, and when I say wellness, I have expanded it to dealing with what I consider modern wellness professionals. My materials and lecture things and so on have expanded into dental and other practices as well. So anybody who's not cutting anybody open or drugging, we're pretty much down with that. I'm a professional speaker. I'm an expert screener. For those of you who don't know what screenings are, that's the face-to-face talking with somebody and getting them interested in, let's say, coming in to see the chiropractor for a next step. I am a podcaster, as we said. I'm a media specialist. I'm a writer and a ghostwriter, songwriter as well. A lot of you don't know that about me. Musician and stage performer. I'm a coach and an author, and I would call myself an innovator. I mean, I never shut off. I wake up at 4 in the morning and I'm innovating, and I like to have that sort of be infectious with my clients and my coaching calls, and it comes through a lot. Always coming up with ideas, and mostly, if I had to sum myself up, I would say I'm an inspiration provider. Like, I'm this fired up all the time, and we have so much to talk about in our coaching calls, and our clients get so down sometimes, you know, so you really have to be that inspiration provider, and I just have this knack for pulling people out of their stuff, so to speak. You know, I call it contagious inspiration, and I'm hoping that in this call you get a little bit of an idea of the level of that, and also sort of follow by example, because an important thing is not that just you get inspired, like I inspire you, but I want to also inspire you to inspire your patients. And that's really the thing. I think that's what we mostly forget. So we'll get into that in today's coaching call. And as you can see, here I am up early on a Sunday, already crushing it, already ready and being motivated, and I want to inject that in you, and I want you to go out there Monday morning and inject that in your patients and all your clients and so on. So that's a little bit about me. One final thing, we're going to cover this at the end. You'll be able to learn to subscribe. I have 2 podcasts, and I think you'll really enjoy them. We have a lot of really good guests, and then Road Rants with Frank Sardella is just really like when I get really super pumped up about a topic, I post on there. I'm going to discuss something in this coaching call. Not all of you are clients. This is a clients-only thing, and I'm not going to take it up because it is a clients-only thing. But I discovered something called the Lifetime Patient Ladder. This is unique to me. No one else in chiropractic knows about this. It literally was evolved out of thousands of hours of screening thousands of people and getting them to chiropractors and you know, getting them the proper care that they need. It's a unique, non-scripted, I want to make that very clear, because in this sort of realm here, there's a lot of scripted programs out there. Most of them are scripted and saying, say this, say that, say this. And mine is more of a, not only a do this, do that, but it's also the fact that I teach you how to read people. I actually observed 17 exact states of mind that people get into on the subject of health. And they actually have a sequence to them. People ascend this from total oblivion all the way up to somebody who's like a total lifetime patient who's rocking out the referrals. And there's tiny little baby steps of states in between that people get into. And the center of this ladder is the exact state of mind that you need to have them in to get them to come see you for the first time. In fact, I happen to know somebody's on my coaching call today whose practice I was on site at a number of years ago that made me realize what this middle state of the ladder was. Very interesting story that I tell in my coaching calls. But I'm going to show you a little piece of it so that you get that. Now, let's talk about moving the story forward, okay? Let's get into it. Enough of my commercial already. We've already talked for 10 minutes about that. Why are you always dragging your feet? And coping. So here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about moving that story forward. It's been stagnant for a very long time, and I want you to see that one of your problems is that the story isn't moving. And this is why you're getting stuck in all these things, and the marketing issues and the billing issues and I was talking to somebody yesterday about, a client who didn't pay, and how to get that client to pay and how to actually get out of that funk of like, oh, I need the money and, all these things, and try to have that, sort of inspiration in there. And I think you're going to be very inspired by this. I hope you are. I threw this together kind of quickly because sometimes I can't get all the thoughts out that are in my head because they just move so fast. They just move at the speed of me. And so my fingers sometimes don't type fast enough. But I think we covered everything. So let's talk about telling a good story. Now stay with me here, okay? We're not getting far off the mark, but I've just this is analogous to story writing or creating a movie. Like, what's in a good story when you see a good story? If you're watching like a really good series on TV, like if you get like hooked and you're binge watching, right? What makes you really binge watch that story? The really good story. There's 3 parts to it that I saw, and they follow a sequence. And we're going to go over all 3 of these today. And I promise you we're going to relate them to your practice or business. But here are the 3 things. Now let's take a look at the sequence. All the way to the left we have the plot, the theme, and the storyline. Okay, now everybody sort of remembers these things kind of from, I don't know, high school English, maybe junior high school English or whatever, like when you were going over like creative writing or literature or whatever. There's always a plot. The plot is like, well, what's going on in the story, right? The theme is sort of like, almost like the moral lesson that's going on, which I think this is very important in practice as well. And then, of course, the storyline. How is the thing going to fold out? Like, how are we going to tell this story? What's sort of going to happen, and what's the overall sequence? As a matter of fact, in movie writing, and as well in advertising, and when you create TV commercials and so on, there's something called a storyboard, and the storyboard is where you actually like lay out the different scenes and things like that. So you have the plot, the theme, and the storyline, and then that moves on to there got to be characters in this thing, right? Your story has characters, and some of you in practice, many of you in practice who I coach, have a lot of stories about a lot of characters that you know, you've seen and whatever, and have a few choice things to say. But what I'm going to show you today is how you can create your own cast of characters, patients and staff included. Okay, so we want to talk about characters. Casting, it's like you have a character, which is sort of like an ideal of like, this is the profile of the person that I want. The casting is who's going to fulfill that role. And if you think about that, that really applies to your business. Casting, like who are you going to cast in the role of your patient, your client? Who are you going to cast in the role of your assistant, your team? What roles is each one going to play, and how do they differ? So we're going to define that as well. And then, of course, a killer climax. I mean, come on. Every great story's got that killer thing that the thing is building up to, right? I think I'm gonna go back to freshman English in high school and literature. I think it was denouement or something like that. It's a French word. That's that climax that the story builds to, after which everything sort of calms down and resolves. And of course, a killer ending. You have to have a good ending, and that is going to be up to you, the end of that story, and that's going to be the ultimate for you. So I want to take all three of those things up today, and we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of this. So I appreciate that. So telling a good story, first thing, plot, theme, and storyline. Let's get into this. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to call them the hard questions, but they're not really hard questions if you look at them. So like, take some notes, okay? And really, I want you to, even if you don't do it during the call right now, I want you to answer these questions, okay? The first question is, what is your purpose or conviction? When we talk about plot, theme, and storyline, we're talking about your purpose, your conviction. You can't just mindlessly go in there and just say, okay, well, I'm just going to make money off of these people, and I'm just going to, you know, do this. And yeah, you have a technical craft that you do, but what is the real purpose of that craft? Have you really like named out like what it does and like what you're hoping to accomplish and whatever? But just beneath that is your true like sense of purpose. Okay, if you're a chiropractor, what sent you to chiropractic school? What's your story? Tell that story first to yourself. Okay, this is very interesting. I tell a lot of people, I've been interviewed on a few like podcasts and different things like that, and after each one I always go back and I listen to my interview to learn from what I said about myself, because I always invariably learn something unique and interesting about myself that I didn't realize before until I said it out loud. So sometimes you have to say it out loud and tell your story. Now, I'm not telling you to go get interviewed on a podcast. I'm telling you to like maybe write up what your conviction is, or make a video of yourself telling your story and then go back and watch it again. When we do podcasting with our wellness clients, the very first episode that I have every single client do is an episode on themselves and what their personal why or their personal purpose or whatever is in doing that. So what's your purpose or conviction? Get it really specifically named out. It's got to be done to tell a good story. Very first thing. The next thing is, what's your message? Right? Now, based on that, now notice that these are in sequence. You got to like lay out your purpose and conviction and then say, okay, well, what's the message here? Like, what do I want people to know about it, right? So you got to have that message that's as part of that. And again, this is going to start, as you can see, it's laying out your theme and your storyline. And this is an extremely, extremely important part, especially when you see when we build these other layers of telling a good story on top of it. You're going to see where, like, if you don't have this, it's kind of like the crumbly foundation that makes the house fall down. You could build this amazing stick-built house, and the whole thing just crumbles into a pile of rubble because you didn't have that foundation there, okay? And again, I'm drawing this directly. I'm a ghostwriter. I'm a blog writer. And I've always been good at writing and telling a really, really good story and captivating people to keep their interest through the story. I also teach this in what I do with Broadcast Wellness. But you really need to just learn these little basics of it, and that's what I'm trying to get through. So what is your purpose or conviction? What is your message? And what are you trying to do? Like, there's got to be an accomplishment there. Now, you don't have to really, we're going to name that out in some later steps, but you have to have an idea of at least a direction. You know, what kind of story is it? Is it a tragedy? You know, is it a comedy? Is it like a goofball comedy or a spoof? Is it more documentary-like? Is it very reserved? You know, like, what is the whole thing? How is it going to play out? Is it going to be a super bestseller, or is it going to be like a cult classic? So you really want to sort of know these things. And again, try to analogously look deep into what I'm saying and apply it to your practice or business situation. And then, of course, practice goals. You got to name them out first, even if just very simply and plainly stated in 5 words or 500 words. I don't care. Just get that out, because you're going to notice that these 3 steps of this sequence, you're probably going to go back and forth on them, adjusting them as you go, because when we get to the next step, you're going to realize, oh, I left that out in my first step. You know, so there's so much to see and do, and that's what we want to establish here. So the plot, the theme, and the storyline are of utmost importance. And again, sit down and do this today. You know, just really get a sheet of paper out. Even if you have some ideas, you're probably having some ideas as I'm speaking now. Like, get them jotted down, okay? So you don't, I promise you, you will forget them later, okay? The thing that gets me out of the bed 4:30 in the morning nowadays is because my mind turns on. I'm thinking of 3 ideas that I know if I go back to sleep, I will not have anymore at 6. So I get up and I write them down, and then if I need to come back to bed, I will. But usually I'm up and I'm crushing it. So, okay. So now telling a good story, that you have your characters and your roles is second in sequence. So we're going to move on a little bit. All right. So characters, casting, and roles. Okay. So let's look at the hard questions to ask. Somebody asked this, not of me, but of a whole room of seminar attendees a few years back that I was at. And it was something I had never considered, because I think I always sort of did this naturally. You know, but I thought it was brilliant genius when it was said out loud, and I was like, wow. And who is your ideal patient? Who is your ideal client? Who is your ideal customer? Like, really, you need to sit down and define who that ideal is. Now, when I say ideal, that's the character, right? That's the character. We're not talking about who's going to fulfill it yet. We're sort of naming the character. In a story, you have, you know, I don't know, Margaret is the lead character in the role, and that's going to be played by eventually an actress. But first, a whole profile of that person is made. So I need you to make a profile of who it is that is the ideal person to cast in your story as patient, client, customer, whatever you call them, member. Okay? Who is your ideal patient? That's what that means. That's the character. Okay? Who are your ideal team players? That's another thing. When you put a job description out there, have you done it fully, like what the ideal person who does that job will be, like into that job description? You know, it's very important. You're actually defining a character. You're not even casting the character yet. That's your hiring process. That's your new patient recruitment process. But it's not character building. Character building is profiling down to the last freaking detail, you know, of saying, okay, my patients refer others. They're awesome. They never miss their appointments. They are the coolest people I've ever met. They are very interested in what I have to say. They're very interested in improving wellness. They don't want to live a medical model and have sick care. Do you follow what I'm saying? Like, get motivated on that. And actually talk about inspiration and talking about, you know, the hustle. You know, you got to have inspiration behind the hustle. Nothing inspires you more than really clearly defining these things. This is your time to play. You're not in the trenches trying to build the insurance company anymore, or trying to get that client to pay you, or, you know, worrying about that the phone didn't ring this week, you know. This is your time to, like, name those people out, because if you want to call out to them and you want to find them, you got to define them first. So let's define those characters. So your patients and your team players, and who the heck are you for that matter? We did a little bit of this in the first step, but why don't you define the ideal you? Okay? Who is the character that you're going to be cast to play? That's really what it is. Because to be honest with you, when you go into practice or business or whatever, it's just a role you're playing. It's this game that you put out there, and it's sort of a movie. It's sort of a show. It's a story that you're telling. So you get to be a character too. You need to define that. Okay? If that means you wear a white lab coat in every day and you get very distinguished, then that's the persona that you're going to be. And if it means you have a certain mannerism and demeanor or whatever, or you're just going to go in and just be like, yeah, let's do this, you know, whatever it is, who the heck are you? So you have to define that character as well before you can cast it. Okay, and then as far as casting and roles, then you look at the roles in relationship to each other, who interacts with whom, how they interact, how they should interact in the ideal. And of course, the casting then becomes the easy part. Everybody says hiring is hard. Everybody says getting new patients or new clients is hard. But when you actually define your characters and profile them, you get something amazing happening. Casting becomes really simple and easy. And those people practically, and I'm going to have to say quite literally, they show up at your doorstep. The more precision you are about this. Actually, I'm going to quote Dr. Jerry Dreesen. He was in episode 39 of my podcast. Said something very interesting. He talked about a knife. He said he gave an analogy of like a knife. And the sharper the knife, the deeper the penetration with that knife, right? Isn't this cool? So the deeper the penetration, but the duller the knife, the harder it is to penetrate that deeply. So his analogy, he went on to explain that when that knife is totally sharp, meaning like precision details, like in the analogy is like the precision details of what you're trying to do. The more precise you are, the more you're going to hone into that, and the characters that you need are just going to show up. All the resources you need to pull that thing off, literally they're going to show up. I know this from experience, and I'm willing to bet if you look back and you search in your own history, in some area of your life, you've known this to be true. You've seen it happen, where stuff just started showing up for you. And that's the way, that's part of telling a good story. So name those characters out, discuss the roles, figure out the interactions, and then cast the crap out of it. Okay, so now in telling a good story, so we have the plot, theme, and storyline, and now we have our characters, casting, and roles. Now we want to get into the killer climax and the ending. Okay, and again, we're going to relate this all back to each other. Okay, but the killer climax and the ending, of course, this is the thing. Now, everybody jumps the gun. This is like the funny thing about sales, right? All of you do this. I've done this. We all want that killer magic closing line, right? We want to know, what do you say to a person to get them to come to you? Everybody wants to know that. Every sales trainer back to the beginning of time has had that issue with people he was training. It's the how do I get to the end? How do I skip to the end and shortcut the whole thing? Which is really what you're saying when you're asking for a good close, okay? So when you say the killer climax and ending, it's the work that you did prior in those prior two steps that are going to give you that killer climax and ending. Because you will be able to formulate an awesome story that people are going to be riveted, and they're going to be tuning into like every last second and eager for that, you know, after that cliffhanger you leave them, eager for season 2, you know? That's what we want. We want the killer climax and the ending. So what kind of questions are we going to ask here? First of all, I want you to ask, what's the ultimate goal for your patients or clients that you are intending for them? And I also want you to consider what their goals might be, okay? What most people do is they make the mistake of saying, okay, I'm going to set up ultimate goals for my patients, but maybe nobody wants that. Or maybe that doesn't, they can't relate to that. Okay? Interesting story. I'm back out on the road doing screenings. I've been since the fall. I've been out of the circuit now for, I want to say it was at that time about 8 years. It was probably since 2008, 2009 that I haven't been actively going out and representing doctors and doing screenings, the thing on which I built my entire coaching company over these 22 years. And every few years, I go back out there to test the waters and see what's happening. And I got back out there with a bullet, started doing some corporate screenings and health fairs. And guess what? It was completely different than 8 years ago. The millennials are running the show right now. Apologies to any millennials who are in attendance right now. 23 to 27 is the average age of who is running our corporate America right now. And these are the people that I'm talking to. And boy, did they respond differently, and do they have different needs. There are some really cool people that you can listen to. There's on this, and I will get into that in some of the follow-up coaching calls that we have here on the Sunday Morning Hustle. What I'm going to talk about is different people that I believe you should follow that I found useful in like forging forward and helping my clients, and I want you to have the same. But so suffice to say, with those millennials that I'm meeting now, I have a totally different sort of mojo with them. I have a totally sort of different protocol that I'm following to actually reach and get through to them and call them to action. It's not the same old call to action we were doing 10, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's drastically changed. So what is the ultimate goal for your patients means what goal do you have for them, and what goals will they accept right now, and how can you relate those? So that probably I should elaborate on that bullet point. The next one is, what is the goal for the community? Now this is an interesting one. By getting clients or customers or patients or members or whatever, you are expanding into a community, even if it's a virtual one. Most of you chiropractors, it's the area around your clinic. So you're expanding in that community. most of you don't think of a goal for the community. It's like, what are you going to do for that community? What is it that you provide for that community? What enhancement, what betterment do you give that community? Because there's sort of an exchange of services there. You see what I mean? And in exchange for like going out there and just like taking these people out and like getting them under care, of course you're getting them well. Of course you have a really good purpose, and of course you have a premium product that you do. But what benefit does that provide the community when you send your patient out there now without the migraine headaches that they've had for 20 years? Or when you coached somebody who is really depressed in their life and their marriage and whatever, and they all of a sudden are winning again. What does that mean to your community? What does that mean to even the company they work for? Like, think about it, the numbers rising and like economies improving, whatever. Like, what's your goal for your community? Because you need to exude that. One of the lessons you're about to learn, if you stay with me with these Sunday morning hustle calls, is about the fact that people have changed in what they want. They don't relate to big corporate things anymore. They want a good story, and they want to relate to somebody. And I'll talk about that. There's somebody very interesting I want to turn you on to who's got a very interesting theory about that. But what's the goal for the community? And then how about you and your family? Okay? These are things that are not mutually exclusive, or shouldn't be if they are in your life. How about you and your family? Where does that fit in to the ultimate, the killer climax and ending of this story? You're going to be with this business. Your family is going to be, whether you like it or not, intimately involved with this business, dependent on this business. And where does it go from there? And you're going to retire from this business. You're relying on it for a lot, so there's a lot of things in your practice that really relate to that, and that becomes part of the story too. So what's the ultimate goal for your patients from your view and from their view? What's the goal of your community? And for that matter, I can say the same thing from your view, what you're going to contribute to the community, and also what does the community want? What do they want out of you? Find that out, and how about you and your family? And it's the same thing. Okay, practice owners so many times. The best practice owners, and I know you guys know this, are the ones, it's like the doctor is the husband and the wife's in the practice, or the wife's the doctor and the husband's in the practice, and they're working together. If you listen to, I believe it was episode 37 of my podcast, Nanette DeGroat, Inspiration. It was all about inspiration and how she inspired over 4,000 people through her weight loss program in 4 years' time. She is amazing about that. She quit her teaching job to do that, and her husband was able to quit his job at a cushy job at FedEx that he had to now work with the business. Now she has her entire family in the business. It's amazing. Okay, so you want to actually really look at these things, and especially you chiropractors, but all you wellness professionals and other professionals that are listening today, you want to really do that. Please do write me on that, by the way, if you have any questions about how that applies. So, and then your profession. This is the biggest one, I think, because this kind of goes global a little bit, and maybe you can't envision global, so maybe you want to say in your state association or in your nation or whatever. But what kind of ripple or butterfly effect is your story going to create on the entire profession of people who do what you do? Now, I have a very interesting philosophy on this, and I'll give you the example of chiropractic because I've worked mostly with chiropractors, but it applies really to any sort of demographic or vertical, if you will, and that is that I don't believe in competition. I never have, okay? Everything I do, my coaching, my podcasting, whatever, I don't look at other people and I don't compare myself and whatever, and I don't worry about competition, okay? Because the way I see it is, in what we do, if we really have a true blue purpose to help people, there are many other people who have that same purpose, and we're all sort of working together to make a global sort of impact on that. So what I do and what someone like me does, or whatever, we're reaching more and more people and making that impact, and you're actually part of that, so there is a ripple effect. And then the ripple effect, of course, from you helping a patient, you helping your community, that's going to ripple out. Your community is then going to ripple out waves into other communities, and it's sort of like this contagion and this spreading of just this one little thing that you didn't think was significant that you did, you see. So chiropractors, like it's kind of like that miracle, like that first adjustment somebody gets when they've never been to a chiropractor, and all of a sudden they all of a sudden get it, and they realize, wow, this is what I've been missing out on. This is life, you know. That first time where the person goes, you know, I went through an entire week and I just realized now I didn't have a headache all week long. right? Or when that client comes to you and tells them how much they won or how pumped they were and they went and they rocked it on something project they were doing or something like that. So there is a butterfly effect, but I want you to consider your entire profession, and especially consider that if there are people even up the block from you doing what you do, they're not necessarily competition. Okay? Chiropractors, I always tell them the real competition is not other chiropractors. The real competition is pharmaceuticals. It's modern medicine, quote unquote. Okay? Enough said on that, on my soapbox. So telling the good story, let's just review really quick. You've got your plot, your theme, and your storyline. You've got to kind of decide what the story is going to be, what the theme of it is, like what your morals are, your message, the whole thing. And then you need to know who are the characters that are going to play those roles in it. What are the roles? How do they interact? And who am I going to cast in those roles becomes very easy. And then the killer climax and ending. Where is this whole thing going? And that's something that you need to remind yourself every day. If I were you, my recommendation from today's call is to do this entire exercise and then make it something that you look after every single day. When you get up in the morning, you remind yourself about it. And if you're not motivated to do that, something is wrong and you need to tweak it. And you tweak it and you tweak it and you tweak it until you want to leap out of bed. And that's really all there is to it. I hate to oversimplify, but that really is, and I really want you to try that. Now, the reason I'm pushing this so hard is this is a completely different tempo than what I do in my coaching calls. Because my coaching calls are very specific. They're very technical. They're very about, okay, let's handle these situations that are bringing you down and whatever, and let's give you some tools you can use to actually win and take many of the barriers away that you have. That's what my lifetime patient ladder is all about. And that's what many of these other tools, the true screening process and things that I teach, those are very much tools that you need to do, and you have to address those things. But senior to those things is what we're talking about today. Telling a good story, having that story there. And telling a story, by the way, I didn't have it in any of the bullet points. Telling a story you want to freaking tell. This has got to be your story. It's the story that you want everybody to know. And that's what you should take away from this lesson here with telling a good story. Now, getting on with how to get moving on the story. Now, the reason why, I just want to sort of backtrack a little bit. Why did I make my theme of the week? And again, that's what prompted this first episode. I've been having these themes of the week, and my theme of this week was moving the story forward. I was very much moving my own story forward. So I want to talk about how to do that and like being stuck in being a dreamer, or not just being a dreamer, but those of you who are in the trenches like taking grenades, right? You can't even be the dreamer anymore. You kind of forgot about the dream and you're sitting there trying to defend yourself, right? And trying to take cover and trying to put out fires and trying to do all that stuff. The story gets stagnant. It just sits there. It doesn't move forward. I highly recommend there's a movie, one of my favorite movies starring Will Ferrell and Maggie Gyllenhaal and Dustin Hoffman. I think Emma Thompson was in it. It's called Stranger Than Fiction. See this movie, because it's absolutely about, and it's actually what inspired me to have my own personal theme this week be move the story forward. Because in that movie, it very much, Will Ferrell's life is being narrated by some author that he hears in his head. And it's all about his story and how it stuck and how he got it moving forward. Very inspirational story. Good comedy, very a little bit dark comedy. Excellent movie, highly recommend. How to get moving on the story. So I developed moving the story forward, or delineated it into two actual pieces here, okay? We're talking about yourself, okay? So we got self, and then we have like practice. That means like the doing, okay? Because the self is all the things about you, and the practice is really all the things that you then are going to do, or that you is going to do, that version of you is going to do. So let's talk about the self stuff. Reason to leap from bed at 5 a.m. This is my biggest thing. I mentioned it in my recent book, Close Everyone, 9 Secrets to the Best Talk You'll Ever Give. One of the things that I mentioned in there is having a reason to leap from bed at 5 a.m. rather than roll out of it at 7, or maybe hit the snooze button a few times. I have a reason to get out of bed at 5 a.m., and when I'm not, or when I feel like sleeping in, I know something's wrong, and that's when it's time for a little bit of an adjustment. So what is your reason to leap? There's the storyboard that we just worked out, your reason to leap out of bed at 5 a.m. If you're not motivated to do that, if your eyes aren't opening and you've got a million thoughts going through your head and you're creating, or you come up with some new idea, then your story is not moving forward, and B, it might not be a story you want to tell. And that's what I'm saying. If your story isn't moving forward, one of the reasons may be that it's not the story you want to tell. Okay, so we need to like actually get into that mindset and have that reason to leap from bed. So check yourself on this. Put this in your notes and make sure that after this call, you check yourself on this. Okay, many of you are up early in the morning. Many of you aren't. So take a look at that. It's a symptom. Have a storyboard for your practice and your life. That exact timeline that I just gave you, storyboarding and all that stuff, storyboard your freaking life. Let's do it, you know? Have that storyboard. I don't care if you have to draw pictures and sketches, or you want to paste it up in some collage. I don't care. Get freaky with it, you know? Put it all over your wall and put, you know, tape things up, like, you know, whatever you want to do, but just have some sort of storyboard, okay? Have some substance to yourself. And then bring it. For God's sake, bring it, okay? Even when you're not feeling, and it looks like I have a little bit of a typo there, but even when you're not feeling it, actually that should say it. So when you're not feeling it and when you're down, you still have to bring it. You still have to find a way to pull yourself out, but you'll find the more you hone this storyboard in on what you want, like Dr. Jerry Dreesen was saying, like that precision knife, that sharpness of knife that has that deep penetration, the more you do that, the less that you will get into that, and you'll be able to bring it more. I want to tell you a quick story. I did this in a coaching call with a client this week. One of my clients, he was a little bit down in the dumps. So we're doing a complete transformation with his way of going out and screening people and getting them signed up and whatever. And, you know, it's a little frustrating at first because I always tell people it's not an overnight change, it's an evolution. And he asked me, he's like, look, what can I do? He goes, I'm changing some of these things that you told me to change, and I have this screening I'm going to at a gym today. What can I do, you know, right now? And this is what I told him. I said, forget everything that I just taught you. Number two, I want you to forget about the numbers that you need to make or how many patients you want to get out of this thing. I want you to forget that. And the first thing I want you to do before you go there, on the way there or whatever, I want you to remember why you went to chiropractic school. I want you to remember why you're doing this in the first place. I want you to remember what you really want to do for those people. Forget about getting new patients and like making the money and, you know, staying afloat and even paying your mortgage. I want you to really go in there knowing who you want to help and why, and remind yourself of why you're doing this in the first place. I want you to do that, okay? I want you to bring it. And second of all, I want you to inspire the crap out of people, okay? And I'm going to get to this in a minute because under practice you're going to see a couple of things, you know, that I suggest you do to do just that, and pretty much how I roll with that. So you got to bring it, even if you're not feeling it. Be the inspiration is what I was just saying, and part of being the inspiration, that before you start being it, like doing it as an activity, you have to like have that, you have to feel inspired before you can inspire someone. Okay, I don't care if it's putting on a song that inspires you. You know, art is this aesthetic wavelength that is really all inspiring. I'm an artist. I'm a stage performer, and one of the reasons that I am is because that I'm extremely inspired by music. Okay, I could be totally down in the dumps, and I could listen to a song and be like crushing it in the next 5 minutes. And that's what I think you should do, and I want to share that with you. And that's why I try to be the inspiration. That's why I'm podcasting. That's why I'm coaching. That's why we're now doing this weekly hustle that we're going to do, because I want to really instill that in you, and a lot of you aren't getting that, even from coaching calls. So we have to do that. And then be in great shape spiritually and physically, guys. This is very important. Somebody actually, you know, alluded to this this week with me, and it really impacted me because it's something that I've always known inherently, but I never pointed out to someone. And when I say, now I don't want to get all mystical and everything like that, and depending on your views, but you got to be in great shape spiritually and physically, meaning you have to be in a great state of mind at all times, and if you're not, you need to figure out how to improve that, right? That's a piece of the puzzle. And physically, you know, the physical does influence the spiritual, right? You ate like crap for the last 36 hours or whatever, you're going to feel like crap, you're going to act like crap. When you don't have sufficient sleep and you know, these little basics drop out, so you want to be in great shape spiritually and physically. You don't have to be muscle man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I pick things up and put them down. You know, you don't have to go crazy to do that. It could be very simply like eating right, you know, getting to bed and whatever, and just, you know, taking time with yourself to go out and take a walk, or you know, really put yourself sort of spiritually centered somewhere where you just feel, you know, very in tune with what you're trying to do. You don't feel razzled. You don't feel like, you know, depressed or anything like that, and do whatever you have to do to change that. There's a lot of ways to do that. Those are just some minor suggestions. So that's on self. Now on practice, again, you want to now be the inspiration, but now you want to actually inspire others. And that's what I'm saying, like really bring all of you. This client that I told the other day, by the way, he brought it at the screening, and he texted me afterwards and told me he signed a couple people up. And he felt, and you could just tell from his voice, like he didn't exactly say it in so many words, but you could tell he felt so much better about it. He had such a better time because he wasn't worried. And I'm going to tell you another factor in a minute here. But you got to inspire others with all of who you are, every last ounce of it. And if it doesn't fit into your practice or business, then figure out what you have to change about your practice or business or about yourself or both to make those things congruent with each other. Okay? So you want to inspire each other. You want to know and reaffirm your purpose daily and before every marketing or product delivery endeavor. Wow. That was a mouthful, right? Okay, so what do I mean? Let's break it down. Well, reaffirming your purpose, you get it. You can write all this stuff up. You can put it in a binder. You can, do whatever you want. You can put a little audio thing that you in your voice notes on your iPhone, and you could listen to yourself, tell yourself that every day. I don't care how you do it. You want to reaffirm it constantly and be constantly thinking about it. This is what you should think about. When I open my eyes in the morning, I'm thinking about not only my purpose, but all these innovative ideas on how I'm going to forward it. All these new products I'm going to come up with, like, wow, I could launch this product and then that would help these guys do that, and it would create, it's just really create, okay? And do that daily. And then before every time you have to go do something, product delivery, meaning you're going to go in the room and adjust the patient. You're going to, go out and do and do that class that you're going to do. You're going to go out and you're going to, consult somebody. Whatever it is that you want to reaffirm that purpose. Why am I doing this? Remind yourself of why you're doing it, and you'll be the most freaking inspirational person ever, like when you go in. And the more you do it, the less you'll have to remind yourself to do it, and the less you'll have to actually physically do it. It'll just start automatically happening after a while. So that's really what you want to take a look at. And then every marketing thing. I tell my chiropractic clients, we're teaching them how to do screenings and talks and what have you, and other clients too, dentists and so on. When you go out there to do a marketing event, that's especially the time to bring it. You want to be your most inspirational. If you're a guest speaker somewhere, you want to really bring it. You want to bring up that room and have everybody like everybody want to be like Mike, right? Like everybody wants to be like you, or everybody's going to be inspired by you, or at least follow your example, or be inspired to take some action. And taking action is really the watchword of this whole show that we're talking about here. Getting people to take action and move their story forward. And that's a very important point I want to make today, but it's not just moving your story forward. By moving your story forward, your story is a story of moving other people's stories forward in the optimum and the ideal to their betterment, to their improvement, to their ultimate infinite success in however you want it to be. And that's whatever you name out. Okay, and then have absolutely nothing to lose. Okay, there's a gambling analogy that goes into this, but I don't really have time to go into today. But I'll get into it in a future call. But the biggest piece of advice that I give my clients in coaching, and it's the secret to my success all these years, and I'm going to give it for free in this call, and I don't care. Okay, is that when I walk in, when I roll up on a talk, on a screening, on whatever it is I'm doing, I have nothing to lose, meaning I am perfectly okay. Now, you can't fake this. It's not something you just tell yourself and pretend. Like, this is for real, literally. I'm willing to walk away with nothing, with no one, and I'm totally okay with that. I don't feel I owe anybody my help, and nor should you, and not in a bad way, but I don't feel like I owe anybody my help. I just go in there and I do my level best. I check my purpose and I make sure I'm really inspiring, and I'm giving all of myself to these people, and then I really just crush it. And you know what? I've never had problems making numbers that way. It's never a numbers game with me. It's funny, I was just telling somebody the other day, it kind of wrecks my mojo a little bit when I go to a screening, and like there's usually these services that put on the wellness event for the company, and a lot of these services now are asking for statistics, and they come to you and they're like, how many appointments did you make and whatever. I said, don't wreck my mojo. I don't even count. When I get done with the event and I know I rocked it, I just take those surveys that I had filled out with the appointments on them, and I shove them in the bag, and I go return it to the doctor's office, and I'm not even curious to count how many it is, because I know I crushed it, and I know the client is satisfied, because I did everything possible to get that person to take that action that client wanted. And that's what you should look to do as well. And I want you to emulate that. I want you to copy me. Like, that's what this whole thing is about. That's what the Sunday Morning Hustle is going to be about every week. I want you to sit down, have your cup of coffee, And if you're not into crushing it on Sunday, you sure will be if you continue to follow this. But don't have anything to lose. Go in with everything to lose. Be willing to risk it all and walk away with not even the shirt on your back. Okay, and you will do well. So the story and moving the story forward, okay? These are the secrets I'm going to leave you with. Number one, have lots of vision, okay? If there's anything, look, if I had to describe myself in one word, I can't. But there are many one words that I have. One of them is a visionary, okay? I've always been a visionary. I've always been a dreamer. And my visions are like very specific. Like I can envision that future that I'm looking for. You know, so have lots of vision, write down, but also imagine. And that's really, those of you who like really write everything up and whatever, like in reading it over, like make sure you really have that visual of like what you're looking to do, because you just really need, you have no idea. We could do a whole coaching call on this, but you have no idea what the power of envisioning does to be able to do that, because you have to picture that ideal. I think if you look back, though, I'm going to leave you with this on that point, that if you look back to any awesome goal that you ever accomplished, I don't care if it was like coming in first when you're on the track team or some trophy you won or whatever, if you look back to the beginning of that cycle, you will find that you had a picture of yourself holding that trophy or running through the tape at the finish line. I guarantee that. And do that as an exercise today. Dream big. That's the other thing. If your dream is like big, great, make it bigger. You know, like really make it bigger than you're even hoping for. And you'll never fall short of what you want. But don't be afraid to dream big, okay? The chiropractors, you know, they're like, oh, I just want to have, you know, maybe do 100 visits a week. What does that represent? Like 60 patients in your community times the number of years you're in practice. What if you doubled that? You could you could heal twice as many people in your community. Maybe that's better. You know, maybe you'll build a better team, or you'll see. But if you open yourself up to dreaming bigger, you're going to have more possibilities coming your way that you didn't even know existed until you opened yourself up to do that. So dream bigger. Remind yourself of your purpose. Again, every single day. Write it up, reform it, like keep revising it, do whatever you have to do. Remind yourself of that purpose. And be freaking inspiring, please. Like, gotta like inject that into people. You almost have to like force feed it to them. But it is contagious and it will catch on. People don't spit it out when they get it. Even when they're down in the dumps and you don't think you're penetrating, you just keep going. Since when did any of us get it on the first time when someone told us, right? No matter what it was. Everybody's got to be told things multiple times. Don't give up. Just because they didn't get it doesn't mean they don't get it. It means it didn't sink in yet. And you got to say it 20 more times. Be inspiring. Be the best version of yourself. This is my favorite one. Okay, because that's something that I want to do. I want to be the best version of myself, and I'm always looking for better ways to be a better version of myself. And if you can do that, if you can achieve that, you're going to have like a wonderful story that's going to be told. Moving it forward, act. Okay, here's the nitty-gritty. What I meant by moving the story forward. All right? Moving the story forward starts with acting. No matter what it is, whatever you're dragging your feet on, whatever that thing was that you've been thinking about from time to time, yeah, I should or whatever, just grab it right now, the first thing that comes to your mind, and go do it right now. Even if it was like, well, I'm probably going to start up at the gym again. Go right now, drop everything, go to Planet Fitness, sign up for the membership, and bring your workout clothes and work out today for like 3 hours until you're sore and you can't work out anymore. Like act on the thing. Don't let these things pile up because they will backlog on you. Take action where you usually delay, and that's another thing that ties into this, okay? A lot of things we usually have to think about a long time or whatever. Forget it. Just launch. You can always fix it. If it didn't go quite right or whatever, if there's a new thing you were trying to do, a new supplement line you were going to, oh, I think I want to try selling supplements, fine. Buy a case of supplements, whatever it is, and sell them, and then adjust as you go, adjust on the fly. I'm telling you, your life is going to be so much more fun if you do this. Reassess your goals if you're not launching or moving. That's what I keep saying. Like if you find yourself like leery about getting out of bed, or you're not looking forward to the day, or you're looking forward to Friday, my favorite thing, he said sarcastically, reassess those goals and your purposes and look at your story over again. Is it the story you want to tell? Remember that that's really what you want to do. And just apply this practically to every aspect of running your practice or business, and get them straight. Like really get them straight, like to where you comprehend them. Did you ever sort of write up your own purpose or like something about yourself, and then you read it over and you're like, what am I even talking about? You know, you want to get them straight, and you want to make sure you understand them, and do they communicate to others is a good way to test that out. And then launch. Just launch. Okay, if you listen to my podcast a lot, you hear me talk about this guy. I feel bad for this author because I keep mentioning him and his book, and I've never read his book because as soon as I heard his title, I got it like that. And the book is called Ready, Fire, Aim, and I was like, that's genius. I'm like, that's how I roll, because too many people, like, you get ready, right, and then it's usually ready, aim, fire, so they spend all this time on aiming and figuring out and whatever, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're launching, like, no, we're not launching yet, we're going to launch in a year, and blah, 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 and it's like, screw it. Ready, and then fire the thing, like launch it, and then worry about aiming from there, because once you launch, it's going to open up all the possibilities you never would have considered in the beginning. So just launch the thing and embrace the opportunities when they come, because they do come. Expand, not just cope, okay? That's what the moral of this whole story is in getting the story moving forward. You have to have the overall story and a plan for that story, and you have to keep that story moving toward that climax. And you want to do that in a way that it can be done and it continues to happen while you're coping with the day-to-day of the business, okay? And if you can't achieve that, you're never going to make it to your practice goals. The years are going to go by. Maybe they did for you already. Maybe the years have gone by and you're looking and the clock's ticking. You're going, wow, I'm getting close to the age I wanted to retire at, and I'm nowhere. This is what I'm talking about. So you want to tell that story desperately now more than ever. But if you're young and you're a go-getter, or you're new in practice or business, just jump into it, do the launch, and make sure you're always expanding, that you have that story told, and above all, move the story forward. That's the moral of today's coaching call, okay? Now, a couple of things that I'm just going to rapid fire go through here just to leave you with. A lot of you practice marketers, or people who have wellness-related businesses or whatever, aren't that familiar with the concept of a funnel. But a funnel, it's wide at one end and it's narrow at the other, and the narrow end represents your front door, and the wide end represents like a net sort of going out into the community, into your community, your demographic, your vertical, to try and attract all those people. And you need little attractors. People call them magnets or whatever, and those attractors are your marketing, referrals you get. I do a podcast that attracts a lot of people. You put ads on Facebook. That's going to get people into this funnel, and then it's going to sift people and filter them so you can find those ideal cast members that you're looking for, and they show up as arrivals in your place of business, even if it's virtual. So you're talking about flooding your practice marketing funnel. That's what comes next after the story. And that's actually what we do in the coaching at Screening Experts, which is now housed under Broadcast Wellness, is that we take several of these: the screening process, the going out and giving talks process, that kind of thing, the process of how your staff follows up to make sure people arrive and show up in the office and actually keep this initial appointment or consultation when they do it, or breakout session or whatever it is. You want to have those things in place to make sure that happens, and that's what we cover in our coaching. So you should today or this week make lists of ones you use, and then ones that you think of that you can add, and you can use some of these as an example. This is something that I want you to email me for if you would like a copy of this. It says chiropractic, but it applies to any wellness-related business. This is a funnel and lifetime patient loop. I have an entire webinar on this. It's an hour-long webinar that I did on sort of marketing a practice like an entrepreneur. Nobody really talks about that in practice marketing anyway. The funnel system, I actually created a map. I did this as an on-site project for a client a few years ago, one of my top platinum clients, and I turned it into something, into this whole webinar, and it shows the actual process of what cycle a person should go through when they come in through your funnel, and then how to turn them into a lifetime client, patient, member, what have you. So if you'd like a copy of this, you can write me, frank@screeningexperts.com. I'll put a slide up right at the end, which is coming up very quickly, and you'll be able to write that down and contact me for that. Email me and request it, and I will email this to you. The lifetime patient ladder, I just want to show you a few things here. I'm not showing you the entire ladder. I'm sorry I can't give away the farm in the weekly subscription coaching calls, but I can tell you, suffice to say, there are 17 states of mind. They do work. They are as real as gravity out there, that I've observed from doing thousands and just observing thousands of people that I've interviewed and talked to and routed to chiropractors over the last 22 years. And I was able to come up with these states of mind. Some of them, like minimizers, you'll recognize. But what you didn't realize is there's a sequence to them, and where it says key state of mind up here, midway up the ladder, that's the state of mind that they need to be in to take action, to show up at your doorstep and say, tell me more. And if you notice to the left, the goal of my program is not to create arrivals in your office. The goal of my coaching program is three things. Someone who arrives in your office knows why they're there and they're interested in what they're about to find out, particularly about themselves. Okay, so that's a key distinction, and I do that all without scripts or anything like that. But just from looking at this and hearing about it, you could probably make a change in your practice and say, you know what, I'm not rolling like that. And you could just make a change from that and never talk to me again and probably have a significant improvement. So there's all those things. We have another in my coaching program, a screening ladder. This is actually a different ladder. This is a ladder of sort of little calls to action that you have to make with people to get them to the point where they're in that ideal state of mind. So I have a whole ladder, and it's, again, a very real sequence, and these are all workable things that once you know them, you know exactly how to handle somebody, and you'll never ask me for a script, like what should I say if they say this. You'll know exactly what to do with the person and what to accomplish with the person and what action you need to get them to take. And you'll be able to be very successful at getting people to take the ultimate action that you'd like them to take. And there's different ways along the way. Like in chiropractic, people have to recognize that a cause can exist. They have to get an expanded view of their condition, and you have to actually, believe it or not discuss helping them and get them clear on the fact that they're not going to be pressured into you helping them. Those are very important steps. I get into that in elaborate detail in my coaching. But I just want to share that with you today, because if you're not doing the true screening process or the lifetime patient ladder stuff with me, those tools, that at least know that it's there so you can be cognizant of that when you're out there. Okay, so joining the Sunday Hustle, we're rounding this out now. I'm very happy that you all attended today. And I want to let you know what the deal is going to be. I am doing this, just so you know, I'm not going away. And if you're not signing up with this, I'm going to nag you until you do. So you just might as well know that. And if you know me, you know I'm going to do that. So be prepared to get hit with constant contact. You're going to get text messages from me. You're going to get calls from me and whatever, because I am not going away. I'm going to do this every Sunday, 52 weeks a year. We're going to do this together, and we're going to hustle on Sunday, and we're all going to feel awesome every week, and we're going to be moving our story forward. Very appropriate first topic. So it's a weekly inspirational, informative group calls and coaching, okay? This is different than my coaching program. I'm not giving away the farm. I'm not going to kid you. I'm not giving you all the tools, but I'm giving you excerpts of those and a lot of advice on how to keep your story moving forward, okay? And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be like a coaching call that's going to cost you next to nothing to do, to be able to have that inspiration in your life without having to spend $40,000 on a coaching program, okay? And I know there's plenty of those out there, and I'm not putting any of them down. I know many of, if not all of them, work, but they're not for everybody. So replays on demand will be available. We're not sure exactly like how we're going to house that eventually, like when the traffic gets like really big. But we have a platform now where you'll be able to instantly, actually after this call, instantly a replay on demand will be available. So you'll have those Q&A emails, e-newsletter tips. You're actually going to receive a separate publication from me on this as a member of this, and you'll have an opportunity to have Q&A emails with me. It's not, again, full-blown coaching on like methodologies and whatever, but if you had questions about what you read in the tips or what you heard in the weekly hustle, we'll be able to we'll be able to take care of you with that as well via email. So that's a good support feature for the Sunday morning hustle. Your staff may attend. This is kind of cool. Like if you want to attend as a group, or you want your staff to tune in, or practice owners like chiropractors, if you have associate doctors working for you and you want the associate to listen, have them tune in. Absolutely. They're welcome as part of your membership. Right now, it's no additional fee. So take full advantage of that. And it's discounted for our current coaching clients and our podcasting and broadcast wellness clients. So if you're currently doing some active service with us, you actually are eligible for significant discounts. In fact, if you're at our highest level of coaching, you're actually getting it for free, and it's included. So $79 a month for non-clients on this, which is great. I mean, it comes out to maybe $20 a coaching call. I don't know where you can get coaching for that cheap. In fact, when I did the math on that just before we started, 5 minutes before we started, I'm like, what am I, crazy? I'm like giving away the farm here. But $79 per month for non-clients is our initial offering price. subject to change, but that's probably going to be locked in for at least the first year, if not more. It's only $49 a month for clients, so like a mere $50 if you're coaching with us already, and that includes if you bought a module from us, that makes you a permanent client with us. So I'm not going to, if you're not buying a current module or whatever, or you're not currently doing the training, but you have in the past, you're covered. Okay, so $49 a month. Platinum partnership clients, our highest level of coaching is called Platinum Partnership. Our Platinum Partner clients, what happens is I become their virtual partner. That means I don't cash in on the profits of the business, on paper, financially, or otherwise, but I operate as if I'm a partner. You get to talk to me every single day. I have a Platinum Partner on the call today who talks to me even on Saturdays and Sundays. He knows he can get through to me on those days, and we've gone through a lot of his practice growth together and things like that, and he leans on me as a partner in his practice very often. That is a level, and of course those clients actually get all of our webinars for free. They get all of our all of these, the Sunday Hustle and any other special offerings we have are included with that, so that's pretty cool. And then we have a one-year special we're going to do. So $4.99, you get it for a whole year. That's 52 episodes, and you can do that special pricing, which comes out. Just do the math. I didn't do the math on it and divide it out, but I know it's cheaper. And we're doing a special now. If you sign up with me, let's say by Tuesday or Wednesday this week, so you should definitely email me if you want to sign up. We'll get you signed up for $29 for your first month, so that's great. What does that come out to? That's like $7.50 a call, I think. So let's do that, all right? And I would be overjoyed to have you join this coaching call. By the way, we were going to limit it, and I decided to go unlimited. We have our coaching platform allows us to have up to 1,000 people on one call, and I would love to break 1,000. So please help me do that. I think the more energy, the more synergy we have, and consider that when you join this, I want you to consider that even though we're not all talking right now, that you and many other people like you are going to be on the call together, and there is a synergy that goes along with that. And we are going to have we don't have time today where I'm going to unmute and we're going to have not exactly a round table, but we'll have some Q&A and whatever. But for today's call, if you have any questions, please do email me. I want you to listen to my podcast. It's very inspirational, particularly Will Work for Patients. If you go there, I have another podcast called Road Rants. There is a link to it there on that website. So go to willwork4patients.com and please click the subscribe tab, and it'll tell you all the ways you can subscribe. You can subscribe on your iPhone, on your Android device, in iTunes, on your computer. You can, we even convert them to YouTube videos. There's a lot of ways to tune in and subscribe, and there's going to be a lot of resources there, including all our affiliate partners and so on. It's a work in progress, but it's going up. And then hit me up. Okay, so frank@screeningexperts.com. I want feedback. Feedback I want to know, like feedback, like what kind of stuff would you like to know about in these coaching calls? What kinds of problems are you facing in the overall sort of more expanded view of your practice as opposed to the nitty-gritty in the trenches stuff that any consultant can help you with? Hit me up, frank@screeningexperts.com. Give me feedback, comments, whatever. If you applied something in this call and it worked and it was awesome, and you have to let me know about that. So please send those to me. We're going to start putting those on the website. We don't even have a website up for the Sunday Morning Hustle yet, but it's coming probably this week. So hit me up with that, and you're welcome to call me. Take this number down, 845-857-9418. You can call or text me and just let me know like what your deal is and what you're interested in, whatever. If I have to put you over onto email, I will, but we can have a call. If you want to chat it up a little bit, definitely I welcome that, okay? And then, of course, broadcastwellness.com is the center of the universe here. Now, for me, your future patients are listening is the slogan, and it really is true. Your future clients, your future patients, they're out there, and they are listening. Why would you have them listen to anything else than what you're putting out there? And that's what we want to help you focus doing. And even if it's just joining my weekly Sunday Hustle, let's do that, okay? So we're all going to crush it together with that. So go to broadcastwellness.com. There's a video there that I have of me explaining the whole concept to you. You can watch this 5-minute video, and you can talk about that as well. And we'll just go from there. So once again, thank you very much for attending my first hustle. I'm really pumped. Every coaching call I do, you should know, when I get off the coaching call, I have to usually go out and take a walk or something, or just absorb, whatever. Today's a beautiful spring day, and I'm really pumped right now. When I get to really do what I love and really inspire people, I get just so inspired. And I'm hoping this has inspired you today to take some action maybe that you haven't and to move your own story forward. Okay, and I'm hoping it's going to inspire you to move some other people's stories forward in your professional and your personal life, and in everybody that you infect with your contagious inspiration. And that's the theme of the day. So thank you again, everybody, for attending, and please do reach out to me if you have any questions. And I'm going to sign off here, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Sunday Morning Hustle. See you next Sunday, everybody.